Hello again and welcome back to the Lunch Bunch Kindie Keeners. Tonight we're going to read Chapter 7, November, The Door. Good morning, Kindies. I am so happy to see you, announced Ms. M. Today we start the month of November and it will be full of excitement. This month our first report card will go home. Does anybody know what a report card is? She asked. Frances was waving her arm wildly to be chosen. When no one else put up their hand, Ms. M called on Frances to answer the question. In my old school, it was called a progress report. It is a paper that goes home to tell your family how clever you are. Frances ranted. Very close, Frances. At our school, we send home a report card to tell parents how well you are doing and what we need to work on. Everybody needs to work on something, she told the class. We will meet with your parents and talk about what we are learning, about being a kind friend, working hard, and doing your best. Also, music starts this month, and we will go on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I can't wait for you to work with your amazing teacher, Mrs. O'Neill. You will learn songs and play instruments and have the best time with Mrs. O'Neill. But back to our day. The opening song theme for the month will be the days of the week and the months of the year. Brandon arrived at school without his beloved cape. Nobody mentioned it or asked why he chose not to wear it. He decided to wear his capes only for special occasions like Halloween and playing with friends at home. Once the group was finished with their new carpet songs, Miss M asked, "Please, go to your tables to start to work on ABC practice." Pooja took her seat and started in with her ABC practice. Frances plunked down right beside her and started in on her ABC practice. My mum said it is probably not a good idea to sit together, Frances, Pooja told her. Frances pretended not to hear. As Pooja worked through her ABCs, she noticed that Frances was looking at her pages and copying what she was doing. Then came the drawing and coloring pages, and Pooja saw her ideas on Frances's paper. She thought it was odd, but let it go when the teacher announced that it was time to clean up and get ready for recess. Pooja was busy tidying up and didn't give Frances another thought. On the first Tuesday of November, Ms. M happily announced, "Today we have music class, kids." Frances whispered to Brandon, "I hope there is a stage so that I can sing to the class." "I want to learn to play the instruments that Ms. M was talking about," replied Brandon. The children were asked to line up at the door, and Ms. McAllister marched the students to the music room. They were welcomed with a big smile by Mrs. O'Neill. "Hello, Kindies. I can't wait to begin singing and dancing. Let's get started." Mrs. O'Neill was in her mid-40s, seemed to be wearing a music costume, a vest with music notes on it. "I like your vest, Mrs. O'Neill," Ashley commented. "Thank you. I made it myself. I love to shop at fabric stores and make my clothes for school." Ms. M waved goodbye and left the class in the capable hands of Mrs. O'Neill. The students sat wide-eyed and full of wonder looking around the music room. Drums, xylophones, and instruments they had never even seen before lined the walls, and a big piano sat in the corner of the room. Once they heard a "welcome," all eyes were on the teacher. "Sit in a circle like you do in your classroom, kids," Mrs. O'Neill directed, and then she went to the piano and started singing the carpet song. First, she sang a verse for Pooja. Then Pooja would sing a verse for the friend next to her, and they went around the circle until everybody had a chance to sing to introduce their neighbor. "Oh, joy, Andrew, another carpet song," whined Matthew. "Give the song a chance, buddy," Mrs. O'Neill instructed without missing a beat. Matthew wondered how she heard him. Some of the kids were too shy to sing in front of the group, and their lips barely moved, and they whispered the lyrics, but Mrs. O'Neill enthusiastically joined in and made them feel comfortable. When Frances was introduced, she did some fancy choreography moves, besides a wave and clapping to demonstrate her dancing skills. She then took the opportunity to sing loudly and proudly to introduce her friend. Mrs. O'Neill couldn't help but giggle at the fine performance. It was time to get the students all moving, and they went right into a rousing rendition of If You're Happy and You Know It. They clapped and stamped and shouted hooray and jumped and turned around until they got all the squiggles out. Andrew turned to Pooja. Do you think that the teacher knows how to speak? He thought. The music teacher maybe sang her way through the day at school in Mountain Creek. Matthew spied one of the drums and wondered what it sounded like. He wandered over to beat the one closest to him. The music came to a sudden stop, and the activity in the class halted immediately, with all eyes searching for the drumming noise. The Kindies held their breath. Matthew started to sing. If you're happy and you know it, beat the drum. If you're happy and you know it, beat the drum. Mrs. O'Neill said in a loud, clear, non-singing voice, Move back to the circle, Matthew, and please do not touch the instruments. The instrument we are using right now is our voice. Congratulations, Matthew. Your name is the first name I remembered in the Kindie class. As they sang yet another song, the goodbye song, they knew they were winding down with music for the day. The students sang it a couple of times until everybody was lined up at the door. Mrs. O'Neill thanked the children for a great music class and opened the door to find Ms. McAllister waiting in the hall to lead the kids back to the kindergarten classroom. By the time the lunch bunch met on Monday, Frances found another secret message in her backpack, and so did Matthew. The number 42 presented a challenge to Frances. They had not seen a number before. Frances asked Ashley, how do we decipher a number? Ashley thought for a few seconds and explained, we should solve it the same way we broke the code for letters, number plus 6. Use a number line and go to the right. Ashley was quiet for a moment and then announced, the number is probably 48. Single file, 48 steps to the next door on your right. Pooja agreed, and the lunch bunch thought they would give 48 steps a try. Matthew's message was not much of a problem. It seemed to be common sense. Hide a flashlight and a small whisk broom under the stairs. Does anybody else wonder who is sending us these notes? Wondered Ashley. And how are they getting into our backpacks? Who could be putting them in there? Andrew piped up. I have been thinking about this, and I think that we should make a list of suspects. The only people I have seen in our room are Ms. M, Granny Janny, and Mr. Smith when he supervises us for lunch. Keep your eyes open, agents. Brandon was way ahead of whoever was writing the notes because during the first search, he used his trusty flashlight. I never thought about a whisk broom, but it is a great idea. It could be dusty because it isn't a space that is used, he told Andrew. Andrew had a question for the group. Shouldn't we put the flashlight and broom inside the door on the wall? Nobody would see it inside the door, but if somebody had to work under the stairs to repair them or whatever, they might find the flashlight and the broom. Oh, I don't think it would matter if we hung them under the stairs. Then they would be ready when we went through the door, said Pooja. Brandon settled the discussion with, nope, let's hide them inside the door as Andrew suggested so they are not discovered. We can always move them if we need to. Ashley wondered out loud, what would happen if we don't follow the messages exactly? Do we have to follow them in order? Again, Brandon had the final say. Let's keep following the notes in order. We've been pretty lucky so far. Frances had a suggestion. Could we change our play dates from Thursday to Saturday mornings? There would be more time to explore. Good idea, Frances praised Ashley. If we get permission, there will be a lot to do on Saturday. Matthew told the team, let's ask and see if we can meet up this Saturday at 10 o'clock for a play date to get this underway and see where 48 steps takes us. Sneaky spy Saturday arrived. The lunch bunch each ran from the parking lot to the playground equipment. Excitement filled the air. Very quickly and efficiently, they set the operation up. They would stay in the same position with the same team members for today. Brandon announced, "I brought my flashlight." Ashley told the lunch bunch, "I asked Grandpa if he had an extra whisk that we could have to brush off the playground equipment. Grandpa has extras for every tool and was happy to give us a small whisk broom." Each of the tools had a hole in the top to hang them up on the wall inside the door. Brandon remembered to bring a small hammer and some nails. "What is the priority, hanging up the tools or going deeper into the walkway?" asked Pooja. Brandon told the team, "We can probably do both, but we need to see where the hallway leads to at first. If anything is discovered in the walkway, everyone will get a chance to explore." Prior to Sneaky Spy Saturday, the lunch bunch practiced a 2-arm wave that meant danger, and reluctantly adopted Ashley's suggestion to use part of the bird dance as the next signal. They could use only the chicken pits and the waggled tail feathers action, and that meant something excellent was going on. She giggled at the suggestion, and Brandon wholeheartedly agreed it was a move they had learned in preschool. Nobody had a better suggestion, and Francis said that will be temporary. "We will change it when we have more time." This is as far as they got with the signals. Matthew called, "Circle agents," and the team closed in for their circle. They put their hands in the center and called out, "LB6." When Francis ordered, "Positions, agents," Matthew and Ashley took their places on the playground equipment. The operation was underway. Brandon, Andrew, Pooja, and Francis ran to the stairs. Pooja and Francis took their place at a bit of a distance away from the stairs, and Brandon and Andrew quietly crawled under them. They had no problem finding and opening the small door. Brandon took the lead again, and he asked Andrew, "I wonder where the 48 steps start. Would it be from the door or from the beginning of the walkway?" Andrew thought about it and said, "Let's start counting at the door." Outside on the tarmac, Frances started to hum to herself, then changed to biting her fingernails. "Pooja, what is taking so long? Are the agents in some kind of trouble?" she blurted out. Pooja calmly assured her, "Frances, don't forget they have to go forward 48 steps and come back 48 steps. That will take some time. Give them a few more minutes." Frances made a mental note to come up with a signal that meant, "We're okay." The boys counted 36, 37, 38, and stopped. There was nothing but a walkway in front of them. Brandon abruptly stopped and asked Andrew, "Why don't we just turn back and try this another day?" Andrew said, "Let's keep going. Keep track of our steps." And they counted 39, 40, 41, all the way to 48. And then the walkway ended. Brandon whispered to Andrew, "There should be a door to our right. Can you see it? Let me give you the flashlight to hold while you look for the door." A little bit too loudly, Andrew shouted, "We found it, Brandon! Here is the door!" And sure enough, there was another door. Andrew shone the flashlight under his chin to show Brandon his ear-to-ear smile and excitement. "Should we open the door, Andrew? Let's at least see if it's unlocked." Brandon reached for the door handle and slowly turned it. The door opened. "Stop," warned Andrew. "The others need to help us from now on. Let's go back to the school grounds." Andrew and Brandon stashed the flashlight and the whisk broom. On the way across the playground, Brandon started to do the new signal for something excellent. He put his thumbs in his armpits and flapped his wings. He waggled his tail feathers and made his way across the tarmac. Pooja and Francis copied the actions and Andrew just walked. The sound of laughter was all that could be heard at the playground. Matthew had climbed down and was rolling on the ground laughing at the agents. "You guys look dafty." Ashley joined in. "Come on, Andrew and Matthew, give it a go." Almost forgotten was the something excellent that started the signal in the first place. Brandon took a deep breath and was ready to debrief and figure out the next step. As the lunch bunch congregated around the playground equipment, Brandon told the team the sequence of events. Andrew chimed in. "We have nothing yet, except we found a door at the end of the walkway that is open. We'll take turns exploring what is behind the door when we next meet for another Sneaky Spy Saturday." Meanwhile, on Monday, while they were eating their lunch back at school, Andrew noticed that Matthew had some Halloween candy in his lunch kit. Matthew had eaten all his candy the night of trick-or-treating. That could only mean one thing. Matthew had stolen candy from Andrew's bag at home. "Hey, Matthew, where did you get that candy from?" asked Andrew in an accusing tone. "Oh, it was the last of my Halloween haul, and I just wanted to finish it up with my lunch," he lied. "That is crap, you filthy blackguard. You ate all yours days ago. You stole my candy." Andrew raised his voice. That led to pushing and shoving, and the boys were battling wildly in the classroom. Matthew started laughing, and then he turned into a puddle of giggling, rolling around the floor. Andrew said in a very quiet, serious voice, "I don't like being your twin or your brother." Then Andrew started to cry. Matthew stopped giggling and went quietly back to his table. He had never heard his brother say those mean words before.